there will be a distillation of core competencies where video game companies won't be video game companies anymore. Where actually that is just an output that becomes like, almost like a publisher says, hey, can you do this thing? Create this experience. So they become creators of experiences.
Yeah.
And creative experiences might be in a car infotainment system.
Yeah.
Maybe like, hey, how people use a controller to interact with a screen better than anyone.
Better than anyone.
We need you to come in, and maybe that's driving the car as well. How digital controls apply to control of a vehicle better than anyone. Come in, you do that.
Yeah.
Same thing with how to get people engaged with a narrative. Come in and do that for us. And whatever it is, books, whatever. And, that will be cross-industry. And it will go both ways too, where actually like, movie writers become, it's just they get distilled down to, broken down into their elements a bit of you actually have companies that do narratives really well.
Yeah.
And then you have compiler companies that almost put the parts together, like cars, for example, right? So many different like manufacturers of like thousands. Car manufacturers have like thousands of like lower level manufacturers of parts that then they put together. And those manufacturers don't make for just those part creators don't make for just one car.
No, not
they make
at all.
for lots.
Of course.
But then the car companies go, okay, we're going to create this car from all the parts that are available. We're going to create this car. This is our vision, and we're going to then put it together and sell it.
Yeah.
And services will become the same way.
Yeah,
where
100%.
we have a vision for how we're going to put these parts together and sell them.
Yeah.
And our car will be a game. At the moment, the big companies are completely vertically integrated, which doesn't seem sustainable, right?
Yeah.
Because, and the reason I see it as not seeing sustainable is because of how our like sort of capitalistic structure is. Like, you're always chasing profit margins, and like someone will successfully make that move to that model where they are just sourcing parts.
They're just a compiler.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where, well, they're more than just a compiler because they have a vision, they have a concept, but then they source parts. They go, hey, this is the best part. This is the best part.
Yeah.
And this is how, and it's really interesting because, and like in the tech industry, right, we've had like a lot of like outsourcing to overseas unsuccessfully.
Yeah.
Because companies have viewed it as an all or nothing, where we ship the entire development of this thing and then we have one person here who's just setting it up, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't work because the parts that company that they've shipped it out to are good at aren't enough to achieve the vision of what you need. But maybe they could do one part. If they are just hey, we write code to this spec, we receive a really specific spec, 3D printers of code, where we literally get a design and all we do is build that design so that it looks like the picture that was drawn, and then send it over. And then you have another thing, studio that work locally that are actually creating the design for it, and they're working locally. And then you have another part that are doing the experience, and they're like people that also work with video games and with cars. And so they are doing the, hey, how does it feel to use this?
Yeah.
It's the like thing that I think that resonates with me for this. It's like a chef, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can send a recipe to someone.
Yeah.
You can say to someone, hey, I want a chicken dish.
Yeah.
Right? And you might hate what they send you.
Yeah.
So then you can be more specific. But then the more specific you get, then the more work you have to do locally.
Yeah.
Or instead you can say, hey, you have someone whose job it is to go, hey, what taste experience do you want?
Yeah, there you go.
And then you got, and then you create then you have someone whose job it is to come up with a recipe to match that taste experience. That's a different part. And then there's someone who sources, who grows the chicken.
Yeah.
And then there's someone who actually prepares it. And they're all different elements.
Yeah.
But all of them can't work without the other to create the successful experience you want at the end.
Yeah.
And as we think about, I think, experience over utilitarianism, and this is where I think you're really right on talking about like our generation experiences, is that That is how we define quality.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
It's not utilitarian quality where it's like, oh, this is, my Chevy can drive through a brick wall and it lasts 50 years. No, it's experiential quality.
That's
it's
right.
like how good, because we are incredibly time poor, how in the time that we dedicate to this, we want a really rich experience that'll make us feel good.
Yeah, that's very well put.